Speaker, sir, I'd firstly like to acknowledge the findings and the recommendations by the committee in the report in supporting the Fiji Meat Industry Board and its immense potential, which can contribute significantly to the meat industry in Fiji, and I think everybody will acknowledge that. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's a well-known fact that the outbreaks of tuberculosis and brucellosis has actually compounded and also by the growing natural disasters. It actually continues to have a detrimental effect and the impacts on Fiji's livestock sector. And that's not something that's just a statement, sir. I think everybody in this room needs to realize that. The issue with brucellosis and tuberculosis has been an ongoing issue, which this particular Minister Reddy, has actually been talking about, and previous to him, Minister Seiratu, who was Agriculture Minister, explained this to the House time and time again. There's not a quick fix on this, but it is something that affects the industry. And this, Honourable Speaker, sir, ultimately contributed to the significant decline in livestock numbers that are slaughtered at FMIB. And I urge the members on the other side to please get the facts correct and tell the people of Fiji the truth. That's not, you just don't come up with something and pluck it out of thin air and start making statements about it and start telling people that they should leave this house and leave the job and someone else should actually come and do it. That's the best person for the job. Just on Monday this week, Honourable Speaker, sir, Honourable Dr. Reddy informed this august House that the loss of livestock amounted to 5.4% of the total loss from agriculture resulting from tropical cyclones Yasa and Ana. This basically amounts close to about $8 million, Honourable Speaker, sir. And despite this setback, I wish to commend the Minister for Agriculture and his team, sir, for their tireless efforts in working with the livestock farmers. I know he gave us a very small brief today, but maybe they should take the time to actually sit down with him and find out exactly what's going on instead of asking silly questions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to provide my particular comments on the recommendations of the Standing Committee, specifically with respect to 3 right through to 5. It's mentioned in recommendation 3, Honourable Speaker, sir, that the FMIB closely work with the Ministry of Agriculture and relevant stakeholders to improve the livestock production. The Fijian government, Honourable Speaker, sir, continues to provide enormous assistance to our livestock farmers, and under my ministry alone, sir, we have financial assistance. It's actually provided through various programs, which is the Northern Development Program, the Integrated Human Resources Development Program, and the most recent Micro and Small Medium Enterprise Concession Loan, which amounted to about $2.3 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ministry through MSME Fiji and cooperative businesses also provides business training to livestock farmers on better understanding their costing and pricing and ways of doing business. And this way, with the right business advisory and monitoring, smallholder farmers can actually become commercial farmers. And we all know, sir, when the times are good, we have a tourism industry which is worth close to about $3 billion to Fiji, and that's a huge market for our farmers if we do it right. And we are getting it right, and we will do it right, Honourable Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recommendation 4 states that Fiji has the potential to develop specialty beef under its own brand. And I don't disagree with Honourable Gavoka. Yes, Vanuatu has got it right. They do export. They did have help from the Israelis, from what I understand, to establish the industry. We have issues. We will deal with them, and I'm sure that we can develop our industry to turn it into another huge industry for Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recommendation 4 basically says that Fiji has a potential to develop its own specialty brand under its own brand of Fijian grown and Fijian made, and for FMIB to work closely with the Fiji Development Bank and the relevant agencies to actually increase cattle production. I agree, Honourable Speaker, sir, and I support this recommendation. My ministry oversees the Fijian Made by Fijian campaign, and I encourage smallholder farmers also to visit any of our offices in Suva and Singatoka and Lambasa and South Savu and apply for the Fijian grown emblem, which is free of charge to the MSMEs. And we also encourage FMIB itself to apply for the Fijian product emblem. This supports government's policy, Mr. Speaker, sir, aimed at promoting and raising the profile of Fijian products and services in the domestic, in the regional and also the international markets. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's noted that there are it should be noted that there are 7 operational livestock cooperatives in the Central, the Western and the Northern Division who are in the business of cattle rearing and dairy breeding. And since cooperatives are actually made up of members, it is expected that these particular farms will grow in the future with the assistance of my ministry and also the Ministry of Agriculture. So, with the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker, so we as Fijians have to look within and strengthen our position also as a regional hub, and the meat industry is no different. We also need to look at diversification, and instead of having such a huge reliance on the tourism industry. The FMIB, Mr. Speaker, sir, will play a critical role in improving the quality of our local beef with the correct infrastructure and consistent supply. And Fiji can meet the demand from local and international markets. Mr. Speaker, sir, the report highlights also in Recommendation 5 the importance of having professional expertise at board level and developing a strategic plan to revamp the meat industry. Again, Mr. Speaker, so I support this recommendation, and it is noted that the current board of FMIB is made up of experts from agriculture, from animal and finance and legal background with years of experience in the commercial arena. And I'm sure that the board will help shape and carry the FMIB and the larger industry. To assist in the revitalization of the meat industry, the ministry also can work closely with the smallholder farmers, FMIB and relevant agencies to address the potential supply chain issues. And this may include creating a more conducive environment for the smallholder farmers to actually thrive in. The ministry is actually very happy to work with FMIB, and I'm confident that the board at FMIB will take the entity to greater heights and expand its business functions in protecting and preserving and growing the meat industry in Fiji. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Minister Koia for his contribution to the debate. I now give the floor to the Honourable Andilitia Johnny Baravi. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. I'd also like to contribute to the motion before the House and thank the chairperson and the members of the committee for their report. The recommendations are worthy to be actioned. 2014 report. We learned from the report that the earlier report in 2013 had also made similar recommendations 8 years down the line. Whilst we appreciate the confirmation from the Honourable Minister today, the actions that he has taken, we would plead with him to also look very closely into the Fiji meat industry. I note on page 1 of the appendix to the report, sir, in very small print, it says September 2005, the Fiji meat industry was designated as a commercial statutory authority. 2005, under the SDL government, the Prime Minister Ngarase. Yesterday, in this House, I had mentioned Mr. Ngarase's name and thanked him for his vision and foresight in enabling the reform of the Public Trustee's Office from a government department to an incorporated body. Government has benefited. In the last 11 years, they have received $5 million in dividends. Again, refer to the September 2005 decision of the SDL government. They designated the Fiji Meats Board as a commercial statutory authority. That would mean, Mr. Speaker, sir, that they had intended to commercialize the Fiji Meats Board activities. From the report 2013 and 14, we know that it has not been performing well. Financial performance has been poor. Had the SDL government continued, we would have seen a different picture today. Government would also have continued to receive dividend if that commercial designated authority was also incorporated as similar to what happened to the Public Trustee's Office. That's my first point, sir. A lot has been said about the report. I'm not going to repeat that. I would just like to mention, Mr. Speaker, sir, the major issues of concern. The continued decline in cattle, sheep, pigs, and goat numbers, which is beyond the control of FMIB. but directly affecting FMIB's income. I'd like to also mention that during the SDL government government in 2005, they had also intended to revive the beef industry, including the Ulisavoe Alavo and the Verata beef scheme. Clear intention to improve the breed and the supply of beef in the country. And looking forward to produce quality beef to enable Fiji to export, just as Vanuatu is exporting to Japan. Just a little story that the Honorable Minister, my friend Mr. Reddy, might want to consider. Red Bull, owner of Lodala Island, he had imported this special bull, 40,000 euro it costed to land in Taveuni. This special bull was given special treatment. He drank beer, ale. Music was played to enable the bull to relax in order to produce more crossbred cattle and better quality beef, molasses and salt. You might want to consider the efforts that was done by Mr. Bull, Red Bull in Lodala Island, which has allowed Lodala Island to produce their own beef, quality beef, and also increase the quality of cattle that is produced in Lodala. That, Mr. Speaker, sir. Something else I need to say, Mr. Simon Cole, a large, in fact, is the president of the Fiji Pig Association, had made his concerns known about the importing of pork from Australia at a price to Fiji that is lower than what is sold in Australia. This has drastically affected the pig industry in Fiji. Mr. Cole now saying that additional threat to the previously robust but now fragile industry. So I would ask my friend Mr. Reddy if he can also consider this importation of pork from Australia. It is affecting the local industry. We need the pig industry to also thrive in this country. Beef, but also in the Fiji Meat, what I'm saying is in the Fiji Meats Industry Board looks after livestock, which includes pigs. Yes. Yeah, and I'm just airing to the House the concerns of the president of the Pig Association in Fiji, Mr. Reddy. If that can be looked into, the importation of Minister Reddy. Yeah, I was just trying to impress upon my friend Mr. Reddy, the Minister of Agriculture, that he might want to consider what happened in Taveuni, you know, the special diet and the relaxation given to this special breed of cattle that was introduced into Lodala Island, and also consider the threat of the pig farmers in Fiji, given the import of the Australian pigs. Thank you, sir.
I thank the Honourable Adilitian John Barrett for contribution to the debate. I'm very interested in this beer being fed to the bull. That's an extraordinary bull. Honourable members, I now give the floor to the Honourable Inyasuri Ratu. You have the floor, sir.
Honourable Speaker, sir, I'm worried. I think Fiji is not ready to give beer to the bull because the farmers will take the beer, not the bull. Let's get serious, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'd like to contribute to the motion as well. Let me go back to 2004. I was flying back from Australia, Sydney, attending COAC course. Flew back into the country with the Major Felipe Alferetti. He was CEO.